Shalom. Greetings everyone. Today I'm going to try to help a couple of dim-dims, a couple of nincompoops. See how my channel's not going to be flagged for swearing? Okay, so advertiser friendly. Put as many adverts as you want, advertisers. I don't care. We're going to, okay, so over the last few days, there's been an exchange, a joust. It's really a joust where the guy came off the horse and he keeps picking up his lance, and I'm on my horse saying, dude, no, you need to get back on your horse, for goodness sakes. No, I'll joust you from here. Like, no, tunk on his head. Just over, tunk on his head, over and over. Keeps running towards me with his joust, tunk with his lance, tunk on his head. Just get back on your horse. Now that person is Red's Rhetoric. The horse is Astronomy Live, okay? We all know this, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share, because Astronomy Live can't accept that he made a mistake. I suggested that he try cognitive behavioral therapy. I didn't say that in jest. I meant it. He can't accept responsibility for his own actions. I'm going to show that. He has been arguing with Gleam, accusing Gleam of not knowing what he's talking about, when he obviously does. If you look at the comments, like, what did... And making claims about me, about things that I've done, saying that I haven't done those things, and then saying that I've done other things, which I have not. That sounds like word salad, because that's what he's doing. He has accused me of not having shown certain things, so I'm going to show them again. So he's accusing me of not having done something. He's then also accusing me of definitely having done something else. I can't show that because I haven't done it, so I can't show it, okay? But I'll show the poor dim-dim, okay? So we're going to just listen, and then we're going to move on from this to something really interesting. Now, by the way, just letting people know, if any of you video as it's streaming, you might want to video this one, because I can't say for sure that it will not be pulled, because of the material I'll be sharing afterwards and the comments I'll be making. Not specifically about the material. When I show the material, I will make no comment whatsoever. You'll see why. After I've played that material, I will then make commentary. Okay, so let me screen share. First, we're going to listen to this. Make sure the volume is up. This is Red's Rhetoric, Dunning-Kruger Extraordinaire.
Hey Reds, please notice me, senpai.
This is from Astronomy Live, what he's reading now. Listen.
My source code is here. Sorry I'm late. My software does not flip ISS.
The software does not flip ISS. We will come back to this. Okay, play a little portion more, because it shows one of the things that he has accused me of not having shown. Now we will play this. I think it's this. Yes. Okay. Now we will play this section. So we were just hearing from Astronomy Live how his source code does not flip the image, the video in question. Okay. So now we're going to hear this.
Astronomy Live, you are now screen sharing something, so can you please tell us what we're looking at right here?
So this is the stabilized video again, but this time I commented out or removed the flip, so it's not flipping the image. It's exactly as...
Let's see that again.
Yeah, right here.
So this is the stabilized video again, but this time I commented out or removed the flip, so it's not flipping the image. It's exactly as it was.
Okay, so it's not flipping the image. The accusation was that he had flipped the image because he had flipped the image. He left a message saying, my program does not flip the image. Now he's saying, I removed the image flip from the command, from the program. I suspended the command. Okay. Now we're going to listen first. This is for you, Astronomy Live. Listen very carefully. Your own pal is telling you. Listen. Make sure the volume is up. Yes. Make sure it's up here. Listen carefully, Astronomy Live. I know you're watching. This is your own pal telling you something.
So Antonio is right.
There you go. Antonio is right. Okay. Okay, I'll play a little bit more, but then I'll come back.
Actual triangle that we would use in our video should have been a scalene triangle if we wanted to be the most accurate.
Okay, but you can't bisect a scalene triangle to arrive at a right angle. Oopsies. Now, I nearly gave the game away. Now we're going to go... Where was it? No, we come back to this one. Okay, it's this one. We go... Oh, wait. 108. So, wait. From a little bit more, just give me a second. That will do. This is from his own Hangout.
Also, Astronomy Live, you are now screen sharing something, so can you please tell us what we're looking at right here?
So this is the stabilized video again, but this time I commented out or removed the flip, so it's not flipping the image.
So it's not flipping the image. Just to show, this is in their own Hangout, it's still there. Antonio, triangles still confuse him. He's saying, I've removed the flip. Earlier he said, my program does not flip. Now he's saying, I've rendered it again, having removed the flip. So, and here, let's listen.
Hey, Reds, please notice me, senpai.
This is Astronomy Live being read by Rect Rhetoric.
So, my source code is here. Sorry I'm late. My software does not flip ISS.
Okay. If the software does not flip ISS, why would you here say that you're now not flipping the ISS? Or unflipped. Okay? Let's go back.
Can you please tell us what we're looking at right here?
So this is the stabilized video again, but this time I commented out or removed the flip, so it's not flipping the image.
Okay, so it's not flipping the image, whereas before it was. Yes. Quaderat demonstrandum. Now we come back to here. I can close these two. 1 second. Don't get confused. Come back here. This is a Hangout called Reds Rhetoric Dunning-Kruger Extraordinaire. Misspelled. Okay. This is what Astronomy Live has accused me of not showing. So I'm going to, well, show it. It's there. It's in the Hangout. Reds Rhetoric Dunning-Kruger Extraordinaire.
Okay, so there is the link. I will post that in the description down below after all this is said and done. But again...
That's talking about the source code for his program to see what it does and doesn't do. So we take a look.
Team, say what you gotta say. Get the fuck out.
That's it. It doesn't really say anything. It's just silliness from then on. So let's have a look at how his code doesn't flip. Here is his code. IMGL color is the message for the computer for, well, the thing that you can see that's separate from black, which is the color. Okay? Okay, so there you go. There's the flip command. I'm going to move ahead. I want to bore everyone with this. Oh, I show this, which is a how-to. Okay, and you see how comma space 1 is the command to flip horizontally. This is what flipping horizontally looks like. Okay, so the images on the left, that's flipped horizontally. His video was flipped horizontally. His command was to flip horizontally. And his video was indeed flipped horizontally. He can't accept his own actions and is arguing with no footing whatsoever, because he's arguing against himself. If he says it never flipped, then he's arguing against himself when he said, I have removed the command, I've suspended the command to flip. Okay? It's just, this is lost. This is not cognitive dissonance. This is something more disturbing. This is how people become frauds without knowing that they're frauds. That's right. I'm saying that Astronomy Live is a fraud. And right now what will be happening, let me, oh yeah, I'm going to play some more. I'll mute it because I show all of the code. I scroll slowly so that people can take a screen grab if they want. Wait, let me go to the beginning. So the challenge for a debate was put forward. It was accepted very quickly by yours truly and then upped to a bigger channel. There's been silence since I did this. Nothing from Red Rhetoric. In fact, he has a video that he made before I accepted the challenge, saying, what, has Antonio not accepted the challenge yet? It's like, dude, I was asleep when you... I've accepted it right now. So, this is the code. This is where the flip command and the rotate command are. After this, he changed this and uploaded his changed version of this. Okay? Now, so a challenge was offered, a challenge was accepted, and the stakes raised. Instead of a channel with 10,000 subs, a channel with 150,000, 200,000, I don't know, okay? A Globelink channel. So not a partisan to me channel, a Globelink channel. Because, well, I have courage and I don't have to fear any huge problems, because I can just show real world data about the real world and it will show, well, flat. I'm going to show it in a second with a triangle, funnily enough. So why is it pausing here so long? Wait, I'm moving. I want to get to where oh, here you are. This is where I go through the whole thing. Oh, apologies if I cut a little bit at the end. You can go to the channel, it's there. Red Rhetoric's channel. Now, I accepted the challenge. Red Rhetoric has declined, okay? Not declined, just not mentioned a single thing. Not made any comments, not acknowledged that he's heard that the challenge has been not only accepted but upped, and that Simon Dan, the non-FE friendly channel, who is going to host it, is willing to host it. No comment whatsoever. Now I'm going to just put some ideas out there. I think that what's happening in Red Rhetoric's camp is this. He is livid, because he didn't bother checking the code, that Astronomy Live, his bon ami, has betrayed him. He's livid. He's seeing it as a betrayal. And now he can't excuse it. And instead of just being a man and telling Astronomy Live to be a man too, and just accept his own actions, and just accept them, nothing collapses when that happens. This is something that I can quit sharing that. This is something they don't understand. Nothing massively dreadful happens when you acknowledge a mistake. I've shown that myself several times. I said that the azimuth should have been different to how it was. It turned out, no, I was wrong. They showed it and I went, oh gosh, of course. Duh. Here's me looking at all these sine wave rotate. No, dim, it's just if you scroll the whole sine wave over here, then this is different. Yeah, dumbass. So I acknowledged it. That's it. Nothing happened. The world did not start turning. The floor didn't drop from under. Nothing happens, Astronomy Live. Just accept it categorically state that you accept your mistake. It's simple. We won't be going, ha, look at you. But that's what you think will happen, because that's what happens in your camp. If a flat earther makes a mistake, you'll go, ha. If the flat earther owns up to the mistake, you go, a bit less. But you don't know. You don't know what it feels like to acknowledge a mistake, because you don't make mistakes. Oh, that's alarming. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, because you obviously do make mistakes, saying that you don't flip, your program doesn't flip it, when it obviously did. I showed it flipped, for goodness sake. Just acknowledge the mistake, and then apologize to Gleam for wasting his time, and apologize to me for wasting my time too. You should have just acknowledged the mistake and said, yeah, I forgot I had that command in there, or whatever. Okay, whatever is the truth. Okay, now I'm going to move on to something else. I'm going to make this large, and oh no, wait, before I do, I'm going to continue with this idea of what might be going on in Red Restrict camp. Red Restrict feeling utterly betrayed by his pal for messing up, showing this code with a flip command right there for the world to see, after showing video of it being flipped, then having gone on and said, I don't flip, my program does not flip anything, then going on and saying, actually, I've unflipped, I suspended the command to flip, and so what you're seeing is now not flipped. It's like, oof, wow, okay, you're now showing the original flipped, not the double flipped. I only spotted the double flip. It's like, well, this is different to the other one. This has been flipped. That's it. Like, one of the two has been flipped. Yeah, turns out both. But that doesn't matter. Here's one image, here's another image. This one's flipped, for goodness sake. So Red will be feeling betrayed, feeling vulnerable, and feeling weak, because he relies on all his pals and his friends. And his friends are watching these and going, dagnabbit, Antonio's right, you know. Antonio is freaking right, guys. You should have just said, damn, I looked at my code, it does indeed flip the image, and when I rendered it again to try and make it clearer, it flipped the image again, and that's when Antonio spotted it. You should have just said, yes, it does. And after having gone on, let's say he went on and said it doesn't flip the image, and then he went on and said it doesn't flip the image, then when he went and unflipped it, he should have said, I made a huge mistake when I said it didn't flip the image. It really did. I've now gone and unflipped it. But he didn't do that because he's a fraud. He's a fraud. He's a globling brought up on the globe, thinking he's on the globe, and anything that tells him that he's wrong, he dismisses, even when it's his own actions. So Red will be feeling betrayed and weak. He will be feeling demoralized right now. So Red, dude, don't feel demoralized. Come on the hangout, and if your world gets completely destroyed, you will be better off for it. You really will. You will. You won't be the first globling who becomes a flat earther. All of us are. We're all ex-globlings, and our numbers are growing while your numbers are dropping. It's inevitable that your numbers will drop as ours increase, because the people who are becoming flat earthers are globlings. They're globlings and they become flat earthers. Your numbers are dropping, and this is a very so there's critical mass, but this is going to reach critical mass very quickly if it hasn't already. You know what, with Polish astronauts saying, yeah, actually, it's flat, and with Russian engineers going, yeah, it's flat. Okay, people all over the world. So you will be better off, Red. You will be better off. You'll have to say goodbye to your NASA boys, or go and talk to them and hope you make it home. You know, just saying. But you will be better off. Now I'm going to show something that I'm going to show it without any comment. I'm not going to make a single comment whilst I'm showing it, okay? And afterwards, I'll discuss it. First, let me make the window big. I think this might make the whole thing large. No, that's the wrong one. Apologies for that. I have to instead do this. Just grab it and pull. Okay, so watch, please, watch attentively. I'm not going to comment. It's only a short video. Close. Okay. While that was playing, I asked C4 to pay attention. I hope he paid attention. C4 is a globling in the chat. Okay. What we have with footage like that is incontrovertible evidence that there's something afoot with the authorities and the mainstream. I've tried to point out that the mainstream has been trying to legitimize, decriminalize pedophilia. That's right, it's unpalatable for you globelings, but I've pointed it out because it is true. They have been trying to do it for a long time, since the 1970s, at least in Britain. But that's just one unpalatable fact of the mainstream. The mainstream has also been saying that men can become women and women can become men. That little boys can become little girls and little girls can become little boys. That little boys might really be little girls and not know it. This is what the mainstream is doing. Okay. The mainstream is also saying there are bad people of a different race and different religion who want to kill you. Look at this footage. And then it turns out, it's not really true, is it? That is not really true. Now, are there sellouts? Are there people who will sell their race, their religion out? Yes. Are there people who just appear to be a different religion? Yes. So you can't tell whether the person portrayed as a Muslim is a Muslim or not. Now, the people out there would be saying, okay, so here's what I'll do for you, C4. You asked for me to play it again instead of rewinding it. So that's what I'll do for you instead. So there will be people who will have this idea, this mentality. Well, look, okay, Muslims aren't really killing people right now, okay? Not fatwa, no. So, but they are invading, and we feel threatened. So if we pretend like they killed someone, then that would be good for us. And there would be people out there going, okay, if it would be good for us ultimately, if the means are justified by the ends, you know, the ends justify the means, then sure, by all means. It's still false. It's still not true. They still lied. If you need to lie for your ends to be met, maybe your ends aren't quite as noble as people are giving the impression those ends to be. Sorry, I'm just looking to the side here. So now picture that you're a blonde person, okay? You're a blonde person and you live in a country with many different hair-coloured people. And there's a bit of a thing about blonde people having a bit too much influence in whatever field. And people that are not blonde are saying these blonde people, they have too much influence. Like, okay, why don't we make a video of a blonde person killing a non-blonde? Yeah, that's good. And you're blonde, and you're sitting there going, the heck? That person isn't even a blonde. Look, at the end of the video, he takes the wig off. Okay. We don't know all the details. We know that there's propaganda both ways, pro and con, Islam, Christianity, whichever. Pro and con. If something has to be bolstered with lies, then the something that's being bolstered is not ultimately good. And you can try to justify it as much as you like, but it is not good. The best thing would be to educate the people well so that they have good discernment and prepare them for the future, instead of keeping them dumb and manipulated so that you can manipulate them in the future if your intent is to manipulate them into their own safety. That would be the only noble reason to have people dumbed down. This is the world that we live in. We have fake, hoax, false flag situations, and we're living in two worlds, which is why I've called this Two Worlds. We're living in two worlds. We're living in the world where people know that this is the case. People know that the earth is flat. They know that all of these things go on. And we also know that the majority of the other people don't know. They don't know that the earth is flat. They think that what they're shown on TV is real. So we try sometimes to reach those people and say, hey, have you seen the video of the guy that was killed sitting up? As if somebody had shouted, "Cut!" And they say, no, what you're talking about. So you showed them the video, and but it can't be, but it must be some other. So cognitive dissonance kicks in. And they still don't see. For those people, best thing to do is just drop it there. Really, don't get into arguments. Don't get into huge wrangles. Just drop it there. Drop it. Say, okay. It looks to me like it's the guy that they said was dead and sitting up. If that's what it looks like to me, oh, well, it could be some other thing. Like, sure, yes, it could be some other thing, but it could also be the thing that it looks like it is. So this is the world that we're in. We're living in a world that has two worlds superimposed on each other. The world of truth and fact and verifiable data, and the world of falsehood, images, Hollywood, magic, weaving, neurolinguistic programming, and the whole rest of it. Now, I'm going to switch tracks to this. What's this? It's a lighthouse in the distance. It looks like somebody's sticking their finger up, I just noticed. Middle finger. It's not, it's a lighthouse. Here, let me put some more I'll put a little fence so people don't fall off into the sea. Look! Oh no. Put a little ladder going, a little path. God, that's looking really obscene. Okay, I tell you what, I will make it triangular. There. Okay. I'll make it angular. There. Okay, doesn't look like a middle finger. What's this? This is a triangle. What can you do with this triangle? You can determine two things as long as two things are known. Okay? You can determine accurately, okay, within a very small margin of error, you can determine from the angle here, you can determine the height of the object. If you know this, okay, I'm going to put K for know. So if you know the distance, you can work out the height. Now, if instead you know the height, you can then work out the distance, okay? So I will move the K for know, as in knowledge, to here. In the real world, you might notice, however, this is a straight, flat line. And this works in the real world. And if the real world was instead this, I'm trying to do a curve, but I'm kind of sideways, it wouldn't work. Why wouldn't it work, Antonio? Because what you'd have then would be this, at this point, this would be your triangle. This would be the degrees you're working from, which is not this line, but instead this line. Okay? It doesn't work. So the world is flat, demonstrably flat, geometrically demonstrably flat, and it turns out the war industry knows this. The military, the Navy, the Air Force, they know this. They know that it's flat. And it's not because they don't have to pitch their noses down, which is a straw man argument. Okay? I'm going to just point this out just one time because it's one of those, what's it called? Flat Earth Society BS, like a small local sun. Okay? This is the trajectory of a plane according to the globe, and we're supposed to be debunking the globe. The vector for the plane is always to the center of the Earth. It doesn't matter if it's here or if it's here, the vector of the trajectory to the plane. There's no having to dip your nose down, otherwise you go off into space. That would be you pulling back to move up, okay? So please, I hope none of you are using this as an example because it's flawed. And it comes from the Flat Earth Society. So from the David Weiss and the David, allegedly Dave, and those guys. The reason they don't have to do anything like that isn't that gravity's keeping them. It's that the place is freaking flat. That's what it is. But if it was a sphere, they would not need to put their noses down either. If it was a sphere. So please, if any of you have used that argument before, just stop using it. Okay, so we have, sorry, I have extra windows open that are distracting me. We have a world where some people know that hoaxes happen, and some people know in the various different fields in which hoaxes happen, including the field of medicine, the field of education, the field of engineering, where civil engineers have to calculate the distance to an object and then for the paperwork do the spherical trig for the paperwork. For the practical building, now just flat. We set it to 0. The total stations that are used by civil engineers building huge structures or leveling flat regions, set to 0. We don't need any curvature. So that's what happens in the real world. Sorry, I have an extra window that I can close, and now I'm less distracted. Okay, now I'm looking in the chat, and what's happening really is people are freaking out a bit because it's turning out that the world that they thought they knew, which is a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and that's just how it is, they're being told, no, you're wrong. You're wrong about that. A man can be a woman. And they're being told repeatedly that. And then they're being told, if you don't say that back, you're going to fail or you're going to be fired. So, a man can be a woman. Say it back to me. No, I will never say it back. Then fired. Okay, that's what's happening. Or shamed. You're a transphobe. And soon, love has no age. Love has no age. Because let's remember something. If you want to think spiritually, okay, and I'm surprised that the spiritual argument has not been used more by the transgender community, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're keeping it in the back pocket as a trump card. They could use this argument. The soul that went into the being, so here's a male, the soul that went in was female. This could be their argument is false and flawed, but they could use this as an argument because you can't disprove it. Okay. Here's the vessel. The spirit, the soul that went into the vessel, is female, but the vessel is male. And take it that way. The religious would have to say, okay, well, kind of sounding a bit. It's saying that God made an error, and they can say, no. It's saying that God's sending you a lesson to learn. Oh, okay. That's a tricky one. Okay, but we can kind of get that because souls pre-exist and the sex of the soul pre-exists too, and it's in a male body and it's a female soul, so maybe make the male body reflect the femininity of the soul that's in it. Great. Then they can say the spirit that's in it has a different age to the biological age of the body. So you see that 5-year-old that 48-year-old man wants to marry, yeah, that 5-year-old boy that 48-year-old man wants to marry, that 5-year-old boy is really a 52-year-old gent. And the man that wants to marry him is gay, obviously, he wants to marry a boy, but the spirit in the boy, just like with the transgender, that mix up, the spirit of the boy is older. That's right, yeah. It's the boy that's the boss in that relationship. And they can try that, and they will. They will try that. It's now, thankfully, finally, women have pulled their finger out and gone, oh, dude, we're in this spell of feminist ideology, and we got swept up into all of this. We better include these as women in our ideology. You know those male feminists? Yeah, well, they're with us because they're feminists. Oh, wait, now some of those male feminists, now they're saying that they're women too? Okay. Finally, women are like, wow, this is a crock of nonsense. See how I didn't swear? This is just wrong. This is not true. This is patently and obviously not true. A woman doesn't have a penis. Caitlyn Jenner. Sorry, Bruce Jenner. What the heck did I just do? Bruce Jenner. It still has a penis. It's a man. It has a penis and testicles. The penis and testicles that fathered children. Yeah, those penis and testicles, they're still there. That's a man. Women don't have penis and testicles. If they have penis and testicles, they're men. And it's kind of simple. And the other way around for women. Kind of simple. And in the world of the Globelink, we're being told, oh, no, no, no. If you think that, you're wrong. And it's like, wait a second. There's going to come a point where you have to say, no, I think you're talking nonsense. And you're not going to make me say the things that you want me to say. Because they're wrong. And because when people yield to that, they end up in a really bad place. In a really, really bad world. And I'm not going to allow you. I'm not going to allow you. So I've played something here that the authorities would pretty much prefer was not shown. So maybe this video will be pulled. Maybe this channel will be pulled. It doesn't matter, but I'm not going to not show it in case it gets pulled, because that's the same as just going along with it. So that's how it is. Bruce Gender, says Danny Diesel. That's right, Bruce Gender. And they make up terms like dead name, like dead naming. Oh, you just called it its dead name. Like, why? Is it dead? Is it dead? Was there a funeral? And is there a corpse in the coffin of Bruce Jenner, the one that won the Olympic? Was it? Is there really? Or are you just lying and trying to just weave a spell where now living things are dead things? So, talk Schrodinger's cat, like, yeah, something can be both alive and dead. You see that person? That person is alive, but that person is dead, because that person has a penis and was brought up as this dead thing. It's like, oh gosh, it's so absolutely dreadful. And people go along with it for fear of what others will say. What's happening with Res Rhetoric? The reason that he's not accepted the debate yet on the bigger channel, the reason for it is he's feeling insecure. The reason he's feeling insecure is that he thinks his pals will look down on him. That's what's happening. He doesn't have the courage to go, wait, no, I don't care. And if I mess up, I mess up. Nope. Because if he messes up, which obviously he will do because it just lead him into messing up, he's going to feel stupid. So he's not. He offered the challenge, like okay, and like okay, we'll accept this upped challenge, and he isn't doing, and we'll wait. Okay, what I think he's going to do is just not mention it, not say anything. My comments left saying, "Hey, I accept the challenge," and I didn't see it. I went and looked, couldn't find it. It might still be there. I didn't spend forever looking through all the comments, but yeah, gone. At least gone from where it was before. That's the world we live in. We live in a world that has superimposed ideas of the world, and we have people who, if you say to a child, okay, where did you go on holiday? And they say, we went to this place. And how did you get there? They say, well, we drove, or we went by the train, or we went by plane, or whatever. A child that has not been polluted by ideas of the world. Can you tell us how you went? And they say, well, we went, and we went over some hills, and we turned, and they're never going to go, and we went down and down. Of course they're not. Why would they? Okay. The distance between here and Australia, like on the map, the distance between any place and any place else is measurable in a straight line. Like in that map. It's measurable. And the way you get there is you get on a plane and you fly in a straight line until you land. You don't fly in a curved line around a sphere. Now, this has been shown time and time again. One of the first guys to show it was Phuket Word. Globalists kept saying, no, what's happening is you flat earthers, you keep fixating on these mechanical gyroscopes, and they have all kinds of things to compensate for the Earth's rotation, so it's never going to show what you want it to show. Okay. And they said, no, the thing would be accelerometers. That's right, MEMS devices. Yeah, your phone, that would show you acceleration and that you're going round. So flat earthers went, okay, well, let's have a look. Set it. Let's go. Now check. Interesting. It says we went up and then straight and then down. It doesn't say we went up and then round, which it would have to because they're so uber sensitive. It would say, yeah, you're going down. You're going round. No. So flat earthers have done this. The most recent one was Adam Meakin. He's done this. In fact, he showed it to the police when he was arrested after being manipulated by that fraud. I showed it. He showed them. He showed the police. He said, have you seen this? And he said that they were like, oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. So here's another thing. There are police officers that know that the Earth is flat. Serving police personnel who know that the Earth is flat. They also know that the whole transgender agenda is nonsense. They also know a whole bunch of stuff. But they're still police because without police you have eventually just the toughest, meanest being the boss. Right now the toughest, meanest is the government. That's who's the boss. It's the toughest, meanest, the government. But is it really as tough and mean as your local tough, mean guy? I don't think so. Oh, there's a Wolfie6020. I think it might be a clone in the chat. So Dunning-Kruger, let me just have a look, see if it's a clone. The problem with the Dunning-Kruger guys is that, yeah, it's a clone. So I'm not interested in clones, thanks. So when I made the okay, bye cloned Wolfie6020. When I made the video dropping a hammer and a feather over and over and over from the same height and from higher than the astronauts did, or the astronaut. When I made that video, the Globelinks, instead of saying, how about that? There's all kinds of excuses, which are like, it doesn't matter what your excuse is, you're wrong. They're saying, No, the feather should drop slower than the hammer, because it's like, it doesn't matter what you think. It didn't. End of story. So Wolfie6020 starts arguing about how the extra resistance from the extra size is not really countering the extra weight that the feather has. As if there wasn't a hammer falling next to it, you know. So he tries to illustrate this wrong idea, based on hypothesis only, by saying, look, if you have a cube and you double it, and he starts describing a doubled cube. And I'm saying to him, are you sure you want to try to describe a doubled cube? And he continues, yes, Antonio, you don't understand, obviously. You're not a pilot. If you double a cube, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can't double a cube. Like, well, yeah, send him links to videos explaining the Delium problem. You can't double a cube. Silence. No more messages from him regarding that. He then goes on a little bit of a hissy fit rant about how, oh, Antonio doesn't know what he's doing or what he's talking about ever, and I do, and always, because I'm a pilot. Oh, well, you didn't when you were trying to double the cube, you know. That's the mentality of the Globelink. Instead of going, duh, sorry, yeah, what was I thinking? That was stupid. Instead of saying that, which would be at least the human thing to do, like, nope, I just delete, it's gone. And that's what they do. Now Astronomy Live is trying to do that. And we see if there are any Globelinks in the chat. In fact, I tell you what, I'm going to ask the Globelinks in the chat. You're not increasing ad revenue or anything like that to this channel. Type X in the chat if you're watching this and you're a Globelink. And really, guys, the pondlings out there, don't try to mess it up. Like, don't jokingly, haha, really? No. Please, Flat Earther, Globelinks, type X if you think you live on a globe. I want to see how many people are watching that are Globelinks and commenting. And you'll see how the majority of the people in the chat will not be abusive to you. Now, picture a Globelink channel that says, any Flat Earthers in the chat, just type X, and the Flat Earthers type X. Well, you can imagine the abuse, or you can actually literally go and check to see whether abuse happens. So I'm watching the chat. There's somebody called Alison. He hasn't typed an X, but he writes, did you already assemble your fantasy functional flat Earth map that rely on 100k flights a day, 100,000 flights a day, like the globe does? Antonio Clown. Okay, to make your question a bit clearer, are you asking me, have I made a map and then plotted more than 100,000 flights a day? Is that what you're asking, Alison? So it's a very stupid thing to ask. Jay Savoy, Flat Earther, Ice to Sea, Globelink. So Jay Savoy and Ice to Sea, Globelink. So I don't, okay. So where are the rest of the Globelinks in the chat? Alison is a Globelink, obviously. So now I'm going to just go over Flat Earth Data. We're asked the same question recently on one of my videos, but with the same guy asking him questions. I didn't catch that. Flat Earth Data. Jay Savoy, Savoy, Right, sorry, no, I'm flat earth. Yeah, of course you are. So only if you're a globe link. If you think you live on a globe, type X. I'm not seeing many. And I'll wager of the 117 watching some globe links, type X, or you're not typing X because you don't want to prove me right in my assertion that if you type X, you will not receive a heck of a lot of abuse from the flat earthers in the chat. Do you not want to find that? Do you not want to prove that for yourself? Do you want to? Would you rather say no? If I did go in there, I get so much abuse, so I'm not going in there, and then just compound your confirmation bias. G-Spot Gaming writes X. Okay, Alison writes, is that map functional for navigation? Yes, it is. It looks kind of lame, but out of proportions. Is that all you got? Alison, listen. It would be better for you if you educated yourself on the real world and maybe take a look at the size of the oceans of the earth. When you find that they're conservatively 5 times the area of the land on the earth, not 3 times but 5, and that's conservative, then when you say out of proportion, like, really go and look at your globe and see about proportion. Alan Hammaker writes, I'm pointing too. So type X so people can see it easily. Up to now, G-Spot Gaming. I don't see any abuse for G-Spot Gaming. Have noticed how the Globlies have a shitter comedy. Yes. Yes, they are. Jessa Wire writes, Antonio's map is the most accurate map on this earth. It is. It really is. I mean, the only major points of contention are the orientation of South America and really the location of New Zealand compared to Australia. And even people who live in Australia who sail to New Zealand and vice versa know there's something wrong with it. Even their almanacs and their navigation books contradict each other. 1,200, 1,600. They just like, hey, what are you doing? Didn't you lay cable between the two, you know, for internet? Shouldn't you know precisely the distance? Alison writes, Wolfie, his flight data doesn't lie. Alison, I said to you to look, and that's Alison. Okay, not somebody called Alison. Okay, I said for you to look at your globe and see whether there's 5 times more ocean than landmass. Okay, so go and do that. I'm going to time you out in a minute after I read your comment. Alison writes, Wolfie, his flight data doesn't lie. He is a pilot and you're pulling welfare. Explain us how does it works. Where are the longitude and latitude lines? Look in the Patreon. So you're writing in comments in a video. Under the video, there's the description. The first line is Patreon. Go into Patreon. You don't need to make any donations, don't worry. And pull the maps there. You will see some latitudes. I didn't draw all of them. They're not necessary. Not for the purposes at hand. And the longitudes separated by 15 degrees or 24 hours. Just go and look. But where you say his flight data doesn't lie, his flight data never says, and you go round a curve. Not at any point does Wolfie's flight data say, and we go round a curve. It says, time you take off, heading, altitude, speed, time, any heading changes, any speed changes, any altitude changes, and land. At no point does it say, and you're going round. So that you go and check your globe to see if there's 5 times more ocean than land, I'm going to time you out. Just for a while, Alison. Cold Steel Truth writes, ballers seem to get more dim-witted by the day. Well, they've got the media telling them, you know, you might be a woman, you know, you might be a man. Yeah, you know, you might be gay and never realised. Yeah, you know, you might be bisexual. Yeah, you just haven't tried it. Try it, you might like it. And all of that silliness. You know, love has no age, don't you? Yeah, you know, some of your favourite Hollywood movies were produced by people who really are paedophiles. And I'm not talking about the stuff that Owen Benjamin talks about, for which there's no evidence. I'm talking about the stuff for which there is evidence, like the guys that have literally been found guilty of paedophilia, who are producers in Hollywood. Spakeface, notice how in these chats, Globlins are getting dumber. I think the smarter ones are being quiet. Yes, but Spakeface, also some of the smarter ones are becoming flat earthers. Some of the smarter ones are going, wait a second, it really is true. I'm going to redraw it because I cleaned it. It really is true that you can accurately determine the height of an object from a distance using trigonometry, but only because trigonometry works with flat planes. So this, some of them will be watching and going, it is true. If you know this, you can figure out the height here with a degree. If instead you know this, but you don't know the distance, you can figure out the distance with a degree. Because this is straight, this line here. And there would be Globlins going, that's curious. Antonio, what you just showed, I'd never thought of it. I just never stopped to think of it. I'm going to show you something else too. This is just, yeah, I'm going to show you anyway. It's something I was going to, or should I? Something I have up my sleeve for Red's Rhetoric. I'm going to type X, folks, okay? If you think that I should keep what I have up my sleeve and present it on the debate with Red's Rhetoric so he isn't prepared to counter it, okay? It's absolutely true, absolutely mathematically demonstrable, and completely ruins his observation and his ideas of the globe. If you type X if you think I should keep it up my sleeve, please. Nice to see. Ew, Demi Moore making out with that little kid. Oh, look, here's Madonna kissing Britney Spears. So I bump into an ex-girlfriend of mine, okay? This is years ago when that happened. When Madonna getting some award or Britney Spears getting the award, I forget who. Great big smooch on the lips. My ex, who'd never shown a hint of bisexuality or lesbianism, I bump into her and she starts talking about how sexy Britney Spears is. I'm like, first, she's not that sexy, but what the heck? Yeah, I'm like, oh, wait, you saw Madonna snogging her, didn't you? Yeah. Do you think that might have influenced you? Okay, so all the people typing X to keep it up my sleeve and show it. Okay, it hadn't dawned on me earlier. It's only as a result of all this discussion with the ISS tracking and the observation that it hit home, and it's serious. It is mathematically serious. I can't believe, with the amount of videos I've made with spaghetti and globes, and I can't believe I didn't see it. You know, but hey. Jerry Streeter writes, laugh out loud. I don't know what you're writing, LOL, but I saw that you made Jerry made a comment earlier saying, oh, I thought I missed it because he came in and I was more than half an hour late. It's like, no, you didn't miss it. I was just late. Okay, Metal Dog Rides. Okay, I'll keep it quiet. no, if you're right, anything he argues is wrong anyway. Yes, but when I put it, first, I should say, I am. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you what. I will talk to you later, and I'll describe it to you. If I put it to him, I mean, if I say it now, he can prepare a counter. It would be nonsense, but what he might do when he's talking, before I get a chance to present it, is he could then try to warp it so that when I present it, it has less punch, less sting. This way, he won't be able to, and when I do present it, it's like, care to explain? And that's how I would present it. I would put it at the end of a point, I would describe, show it with real world things, and then ask him to explain. This would be after the point counterpoint, okay? So yeah, I'm going to keep it to myself. And I'm going to give it's okay, if by the end of January we haven't had this debate, I mean, I'm going to encourage Sam and Dan to maybe push for it and say to him, hey, maybe we'll make it some kind of Christmas special, like leading up to Christmas special, okay? So that he'll really push for it, so that we really see the cowards yellow belly. There's something, some of you might not know this, a few years ago, because Reds has been arguing with Flat Earthers for about as long as I've been a Flat Earther, okay? He put this footage regarding things going over a curve, and it was footage of an object disappearing over the curve. And he just hadn't actually shown the rest of the footage, and the rest of the footage showed that it wasn't actually going over a curve. It was going into a reflection over the ocean, in a layer above the ocean that was reflecting the sky. And only a few seconds after the footage that he showed, you see a bird dipping into this area, like a bird flying down into this area, landing in the water somewhere. So I'll draw it. This is what he showed, okay? Ship, reflection here and reflection there. This is what he was showing, okay? Now this is a reflected layer, this here, okay? This is reflected layer. So this would be what he was saying. This is the ship, okay? Here's the ocean with the waves. And this is what he was playing as the horizon. Let me make sure I'm showing everything properly. And some of you will remember this, okay? He was playing this as being the horizon. And it was the horizon in terms of optically. It's the point where you could no longer see. But above the horizon there was this region reflecting the sky. And he shows the footage showing this getting smaller until he jumps to this no longer being there, and not here either, because to a point it was reflecting in that, okay, and says that what happened was it had gone beyond the curvature. But then a bird flies down into this area, disappears, okay, the bird disappears, and then over here some splash comes up from the bird having gone into the water. So this region, at least from where he went in and here, that region was just, well, it was there, but it wasn't visible because it was reflecting the sky. So when he showed the boat like this, reflecting here, when he was showing this, the boat wasn't there. The boat was where the actual horizon was. And he did this jumping ahead of frames, and he was caught by Geronism. Geronism showed the fraud, never really owned up to it. So this is how I know, for one, that Resrestric is a fraud. He's deceitful. He will do things on purpose. The reason he keeps harping on about the angles for the degree without acknowledging that you can't bisect and therefore use a scaling triangle with two observers to determine the distance to anything, it's just not doable. The reason this, I'm going to do it just quickly. The reason you can triangulate you can use triangulation, okay, to determine the height of an object with just one observer. You can do this with one observer. The reason for this is that you know this is a right angle because the surface is flat. You only need one observer. It's never going to be scalene. It's never going to be this, where you don't have a right angle. Just, it's not doable if you have that. Oh, that's a very unstraight line. You know what I mean. There. You're never going to have this, where that is not a right angle and triangulate anything. It's just not going to work. Okay? You can do this with one observer, but you can't do it if you don't have this baseline, which is a right angle. The reason that he took their observation and made it into first an isosceles triangle so he could bisect it and have two right angles is that the right angle is absolutely indispensable for that kind of calculation. But from their triangle, they could not establish a right angle. Never mind here, okay, or anywhere else. So I'm doing this by hand. God. Let me do it a bit better. There. That's, you can't put a right angle there. Okay. And factoring imaginary ideas, having invented an isosceles triangle so that you can drop a line and make a right angle, and later transpose that by saying, oh no, really, well, we're working with this. Here's the right angle. That's literally fraud. That's just cheating. That's like somebody, that's being a shill. That's being a shill for the globe. So it would be like somebody, you have a tombola, okay? And people are in the tombola, instead of putting tickets in the tombola, what you're turning is just a heck of a lot of gumballs, okay? And you're asking the audience to guess how many, and whoever guesses right will win, okay? So you have lots of people guessing, and they're all paying to make a guess, and the first person that guesses right wins it, okay? So what they do is they play it for 10 minutes nice and loud with the blaring lights, and then the shill is the one that says 572, and that person gets it. That's the shill. That's the guy's brother. He knows it's 572. So he gets the money. But obviously he's part of the freaking gig. That's what taking and inventing a triangle for convenience and then taking the values from that invented triangle and transposing it to a new one, that's what that is. It's just being a complete shill. And mathematically I can show that absolutely. I can show it with the functions on the scientific calculator. I can show it from now till kingdom come. And that's rhetoric. The cheat, the fraud, the guy who, of course he's never going to become a flat earther. I mean, all of them will eventually become flat earthers, okay? But it's not going to be willingly. Right, so I'm now looking through the chat. Dutch Interceptor writes, oh, dagnabbit, my daughter just came home drunk as a skunk. I hope she's of age. At this moment, I think her world is spinning 1,000 miles per hour, but I told her that the world is flat, so keep calm. No response. I can just picture if your daughter is actually drunk, like, but the earth is but later, it doesn't feel flat. It's rotating like I'm inside a washing machine. What's going on? This is wrong. Yeah. Mark Collard. Mark Collard, you're getting a terrible headache coming on very quickly. If you have lemon and pink Himalayan salt, try that. Lemon juice and pink Himalayan salt. A teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt and 3 or 4 squeezed lemons, no water. Just mix it, dissolve it, and drink it quickly. You might be okay. it worked for me one migraine time. Or was it two? One for sure. It was like magic. IN26 writes, it's all just pride now. They know they're wrong. Yes, they do. They're clinging like the child just who has argued so much that Santa does exist, that now all the friends know that Santa doesn't exist, but that child is still trying to convince the friends that the friends are wrong and that Santa does exist. And the friends are like, no. Right, anyway. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up. Can't think... yeah, I think I've covered what I wanted to cover. The main thing to take from this is the understanding that we're living in a world, in a reality that has two realities superimposed. There's a theory, I forget who kind of put this together. That reality is that we live in a consensus reality, and it's difficult. It's difficult to argue against, because when we were all globelings, we thought it was a globe. The consensus was that it was a globe, and we were globelings. But eventually, some stopped being globelings, and the truth, the reality, became one where the majority of the people think that the Earth is a globe, but it isn't really. So that reality that stepped away from the normal paradigm, that was still reality. That was nothing to do with consensus. So there's a flaw to the consensus reality idea. Now, but if we're to take the consensus idea of reality, or the consensus reality idea, or reality by consensus, actually you can see it's flawed just looking back in history. Supposing that it wasn't quite as flawed as it is, we have globelings whose consensus is that the Earth is a globe, and on whose Earth there are these stupid people who keep saying it's flat, and sometimes they bring in arguments that are just pesky arguments. And then there's flat earthers whose feet are on the ground going, no dude, you're wrong. We were you guys. All of us were you guys. We're telling you it's wrong. You're the guys believing in Santa Claus. We believed in Santa Claus too. We know the truth now. You don't. We're trying to tell you your world is a fantasy. Now, want to see how much of a fantasy your world is? In your world, you're being told that a man is a woman. That's what you're being told in your world. You're being told that bad guys want to kill you all, and being shown footage of bad guys killing, and then it turns out it's all a hoax. The bad guy sits up, walks off. We had the French thing, I forget what it's, the thing that was associated with a drawing of Muhammad and a thing, and we watched the footage taken by somebody's phone, and nope, false again. We see it all the time. I was in Manchester when there was a bomb at the Ariana Grande concert, which first was reported as bombs, plural. But I was down the road. I had just done a comedy gig. I've only ever done one. I wanted to see it because I was petrified of being on stage, and I thought I'm going to do it because I like facing my face. So I'm having a smoke outside, and the police come and cordon the area off. They just put some barriers and they divert traffic. Okay. Before the police come to divert traffic, there are parents walking with young children, kind of 12, 13, maybe 10. And I thought some of the children are a bit kind of glammed up. And I'm thinking, where are all these children coming from at this time of night? And I'm thinking, maybe they're in a dance school and they've just done a show. I don't know. And that's what I think. And the police come and cordon off. But these parents with children keep walking by. And nothing much. Then this couple comes running, a guy in his maybe early 50s and a woman in her mid-20s, running past. nothing much. Then these more and more people coming through the police cordon. So they've cordoned off the area. That's the controlled area. There's people walking out of this controlled area. Like, going on here. So these two women who are early 20s but trying to dress like the late teenagers just hover around, you know, making eye contact with me and the other guy smoking. And we're like, hey, what's going on? Like, oh, there's been some bombs. We're at the Ariana Grande concert. There's been some bombs. I'm like, what? Yeah, there's been some bombs. Like, where? What do you mean? Yeah, oh, sorry, we've got to go. And then they walk off. The man in his mid-50s, early 50s, and the woman in her mid-20s come running by again. Okay? Like, what are these people doing? That's interesting. If they're going for a run, usually, and this is a busy road, usually you don't run laps on a busy road. You'd run a circle, okay? Anyway, I see these people. That's interesting. I make eye contact with the guy and he quickly shifts his eye away. Okay, never mind. Just a guy running. And more and more people just pouring through. And like bombs. So go up to the police. What's this about? Bombs at the thing? Say, yeah, can't say much. That's it. Interesting. I then get in my car, go home, you know, have some drinks and just chill a bit with the people there. And then I go home. I go home listening to the radio. Ariana Grande concert, bomb. A bomb has gone off. And there are hundreds of children missing. That's what the news is. Because the police have cordoned off and parents going to collect children can't get to the concert hall or the concert venue. It was the A2 Arena in Stockport, in Manchester. A2 Arena? O2 Arena, sorry. They can't get there, so all the children missing. None of that was true. Okay, there were no bombs. The people, the people I saw running, okay, they go back. The two women who were pretending to be younger than they were kind of come back towards the barrier, okay, and we're like, hey, you know, because we've been talking to them. So, like, what happened? What did you hear? Okay, and they're just loitering there, like, they're just loitering by the barriers, okay, and then the guy and woman who'd come running past twice, I see them on the other side of the road, running back over that way, and then crossing over, and then running back this way. And these two women, as they run by, go, oh God, and start running off, okay? But it didn't make anybody run. I think the point was to try to get people to run and panic. But these children were tired, the parents were tired, and nobody was panicking and nobody was running. It later turns out the fire brigade were not called. Whenever there's a bomb or anything like that at a concert, the first people to be called are the fire brigade, because it's the fire brigade who call the bomb squad. It's not the police, okay? So first the fire brigade, first thing that happens is the emergency doors open to let everybody out quickly, because it would be classed as an emergency if a bomb had gone off. So first, the emergency doors did not open. Second, the fire brigade were not called. Third, the bomb squad was not called. It was just another one of those things like what I showed earlier, and I'm going to show again without any commentary. Just bear with me, I'm going to pull it up and show it. Just give me a second, please. If it hasn't been pulled already, in which case I will just rewind this very hangout and show it. And this is thanks to the fact that we all have mobile phones and people can record anything. Here, got it. So I'm going to play it from start, okay? And after this, I will leave you all, you know, for your own devices. Let me see if this does it. There you go. So I'm not going to comment, just going to play the clip. Beforehand, I'll say this. There was recently a terror attack where a Muslim person stabbed people and then was shot dead by the police. Now see what you're going to watch. Let's see what this is. Photographer. No comment, no comment. Okay, make of that what you will. Now before I go, I just thought of something else to show you. This I will play with audio. I think this is the one. No. Oh, well, let me see. Nope. This is the one. Witness testimony. Make of this what you will. The person you're about to hear, Aaron Dover, either passed away. The story came out that he passed away. I'm going to subscribe to this anyway, but that he lived in Thailand and apparently he passed away. I don't know whether this is true or not, but it's likely. But the story is a bit convoluted. Anyway, that's not important. The point is he disappeared. He's not making any more content, and the story was that he was killed by being thrown out of a high-rise building, thrown out of his hotel. Now what we're going to hear is his testimony. So enjoy.
Hello, it's Aaron, and I just wanted to talk about an aspect of 9/11 No Flaws which I haven't covered really, which is the fact that I went in person to the restaurant called Windows on the World, which was at the top of one of the towers in the year 2000. So I just wanted to really give a testimony of what my experience was of going into the building up to the restaurant and back. So the buildings themselves I was always kind of fascinated with because there were such weird structures. They were weirdly big and boxy. They looked like the packing boxes that a proper skyscraper would come in. They didn't look like proper buildings to me ever. They looked very weird. If you compare them to other office buildings, the exterior was very different. The metalwork hid the windows, which were very narrow and recessed, and it basically made no sense. It minimised the amount of light that was going into the structure. It made it completely private from outside, and it gave the impression that if there had actually been floors and people working inside, they wouldn't have had any light, because if you look at it, it's basically designed not to really let very much light in or through. And obviously now we know exactly why that is, because it was concealing the fact that it was just a hollow box. And only when you have, say, the sun setting behind it or rising behind it, and you actually at altitude, would you be able to see clearly through the building, like you can in some of the helicopter shots and some of the photos we've seen. But clearly the exterior of the building was designed to conceal what was inside, as in conceal the trick, which is that it only had a few floors. It basically only had a sky lobby floor, and then the restaurant floor at the top, and I understand there may be a ballroom floor below that. So if you look now, I'll put the graphic of the lift itself. So I walked into the building. So I booked at the restaurant. I went with a friend of mine, I think a colleague from work, as I remember. We went in. The lobby the lobby was enormous. It's enormous in terms of floor space because the outer boxes were massive, and if it had floors, then each floor was enormous. So you walk into this huge lobby that also was about 6 or 7 stories high. So the bottom 6 or 7 stories of the structure were just completely wasted for this lobby. So as soon as I walked in there, I was weirded out by that. Like, why would you build this incredibly expensive, massive, tall building and then use the bottom 6 stories for this cavernous, huge entrance lobby, which just had, like a desk, and there were a few, as I remember, there were maybe 2 or 3 staff at a kind of reception desk. But the thing that struck me most walking into this lobby was how there was no one there. There was basically pretty much no one there. There were a few people in reception on the reception desk, but there was not a single business person or woman walking around that I saw. None. It was like completely just a big, echoey, empty space. There were a few people at reception, and then there were a few people who dealt with the tourists. So they had there was one lift with kind of velvet ropes to guide you down to the one lift that you can go into. And when you go to the lift, there was a bellman, like a lift operator, and so that also struck me as strange. That there was a lift operator to take the tourists up to the top, but there was basically no sign of any other lifts in operation or any people walking around. And there were supposedly like tens of thousands of people working in the building above. So how can you have tens of thousands? I was just thinking, how is it possible, just statistically, to have tens of thousands of people working in the building above me, and yet here I am and looking in the lobby, and there's zero people who appear to be going in or out. It just seemed impossible, because I've worked in many offices and much smaller numbers of people, but you always see people coming in and out of the lobby. I know what a normal functioning lobby is. You've got post people coming in and out. You've got all sorts of things going on. You've got security guards and so on. Here there were like no security, no post people, no businessmen, nobody. It was just like it was just like a museum. Really, it felt like a weird museum, and that's essentially what it was. I mean, it's almost like it's very similar. It was very similar in function to a lot of the museums that the Masons have. You're meant to go in there, you get shown some bollocks, you get brainwashed, and you come out, and that's what it's about. And it had the same kind of vibe of a kind of art gallery, bullshit art gallery, or a bullshit, you know what I mean. Yeah, I think you know what I mean. Now, I went in. So what was strange is the guy was operating the lift, and you absolutely weren't allowed to do anything yourself. And he took you into the lift, and they went to great lengths to. They clearly were going through some kind of script where they're telling you, we're going to the sky lobby, and then we're going to change lifts, and then we're going to go up to the top floor, because there's no direct lift from the lobby to the restaurant floor. So what we do is we go to sky lobby floor, which is somewhere up in the middle of the building, and then we change lifts, and then we go to the top floor. And they told us this, made very they just seem to be overly focused on explaining it all to us. Anyway, we went up to the middle floor, to the sky lobby, and we got out and we changed lifts. But the sky lobby floor was a bit weird. It seemed to have some other lifts, but we were again taken to. Only one of the lifts had ropes going to it and seemed to be functioning. The others were just closed doors. And I believe the other lifts didn't exist; they were just doors. It was mainly a hollow structure. They only needed a single operating lift to take tourists up and down to the restaurant and to the ballroom. There was no other. There's no other need for any lift access apart from that, because there were no actual office floors and no other people who were actually using the building. It was an electrical mast. Anyway, we changed floors. We went up into this second lift, and we were taken up to the top. And while I was standing in the lift, I was looking at the lift panel and just thinking, that's completely screwed up, because the lift panel just seemed to have a strange selection of floors that made no real sense, because they told us in the lobby there was no direct lift from the lobby to the top, but one of the lifts had the lobby floor, the sky lobby, the ballroom and the restaurant on the button panel. So that wasn't consistent with what we've been told about having to change lifts. And it also was just weird, because why would you have this lift, which they called an express lift, which had floors 144, 106 and 107? It just didn't make any fucking sense. There's no possible explanation that could make sense of why you would have that selection of floors and no other floors available on the button panel. So I thought, that's really creepy. What the hell is going on with this building? I just thought it was weird. I have to emphasise, I didn't know at that time that there were no floors, and I didn't think, there are clearly no floors. But I thought, there's something really weird going on with this building. And when we got out at the top to go into the restaurant, I noticed that. So first of all, the restaurant floor was only occupied a small part of the floor, the potential floor space on 107, because the actual, as I said before, the box size was huge on these buildings. So you couldn't have a restaurant that took up an entire floor, because it would just be so vast. So it was only a small, like a corner of the floor that the restaurant occupied. And when I was walking to my table, I noticed that the floor was kind of weird and rubbery and seemed to be made of sections, and that it felt strange to walk around. It felt kind of bouncy. And I'm not just saying this in retrospect. I noticed this at the time. I thought there was something that felt really weird walking around. And later, when I heard all about after 9/11 and after all the stories and stuff, there were all these stories about how it had special hanging floors. So I thought maybe it's that special hanging floor design, because it felt like it had some recoil to it. I can't, like when you're walking on like a squash court or something, and you get a slight spring from the floor. That's what it felt like. And I now realise that that's because it was just a temporary floor structure. It wasn't an office floor made of solid steel and concrete. It was a hanging floor, and they only had two upper floors. They had the restaurant floor and the one below it, which was a ballroom. They call it a ballroom. I mean, they probably did all kinds of crazy Masonic, satanic rituals and stuff there, because this structure, it was perfect for them to do all their nasty stuff in. Maybe they executed people by throwing them, dropping them to the floor. I have no idea what they actually used the building for. They could have done anything in there, because you could take people there, and it was a completely secret, weird place. So I don't know what they were doing up in the ballroom. I'm sure they were doing some nasty stuff there. But anyway, point being, it was weird. I could tell that there was something up with the floors and the structure generally. There weren't office workers. The floor was weird and springy, and only occupied a small area of 107. So in total, when you go to the restaurant, eat a meal and then leave, you've only visited the lobby, the sky lobby, and part of the restaurant floor. That's all you've seen, but it's obviously designed, the whole experience is designed to make you feel like, hey, I've been in that building, that was a real building, nothing strange about that building because I've been in there and I went to the top and I ate a meal. So that was the whole point of it. That's the reason to have the restaurant. There's no reason to put a restaurant up there for any other reason. It's obviously not economical at all to build a floor specifically just to put a restaurant in this hollow structure. You know, it was done for a psyop, just like all these other masts, like you know, the CN Tower has a restaurant, and the Shard has a viewing platform, and so they always put a tourist attraction at the top to just baffle you about, so that you don't wonder what the hell is this structure for, because you know they'll show you like a viewing platform. Like if you go to Shard, you can go and see the viewing platform, and they'll tell you, oh, there's all these hotels, and then there's these businesses, and so on. There's no way that you ever, you know. But then if the hotel never opens, or you can never visit it, or it's so expensive that only you think that there are some mega rich sort of Arab fake oil tycoons who go and stay in it. But you don't see it. It's just the story. All you actually see as a member of the public, all you can see is what they want you to see, which is the viewing platform or the restaurant or whatever bollocks they put up there. Or if it's a Ferris wheel, you know, then you see the pod. You're not going to see more than they want you to. And so, yeah, so I did go in there. I did think it was weird at the time. I didn't at the time. It never, you know, this is before 9/11, before they sent the whole world into that level of stupidity and silliness, an action movie kind of reality. So it didn't occur to me at the time that there weren't any physical flaws at all in the building, but it did seem to me that there was something iffy and that they were hiding something about this structure, and there was something not right about it, because everything about it was wrong. It was too quick to build. It took only 2 years to build, so it's impossible that it could have had office floors. You just can't build a structure on that time scale with that many floors. It's completely impossible, no matter how big a team you have. And the construction footage shows that there weren't any floors, but there were other things that were weird about it. I stayed in a hotel opposite the building for I think a couple of weeks when I was there on business. So I was staying in the Millennium Hilton on the 48th floor, looking directly into the middle of the Twin Towers across the road. So I looked down and saw little ants, and I looked up, and I craned my neck to see the top. So I was looking at the middle of it, and so I'd see the lights that went on at night, and they just seemed weird. You know, the lights that would go on and off. And now I know in retrospect that was an electronic lighting system. It was basically a rig just created to give the impression that there were office floors. There were no actual offices. You couldn't see any people. You couldn't see into any of the floors. And yet there was this lighting rig that went on. It was just a mess. Like it was just very mad of them to think, hey, we'll just basically trick everyone for. They started building it in 1969, and then they demolished it in 2001. So they thought, oh, we'll just deceive everyone for 32 years, and that's not including all the stuff they had in the media, before they built the buildings, because they had to say, hey, we're adding 100 million square meters of office space or something, when already New York had too much office space. And people were saying, well, what the hell are you doing? Think you're building more office space? You'll completely destroy it. There's no need for it. No one's asked for it. And you're going to wreck the economy. And then clearly they heard, backstage, oh, don't worry, it's just an electrical tower with no floors. And then it went ahead, and it didn't affect anything in terms of the office space. It didn't affect the market at all because it had no office space at all. So, yeah, so this is it. Anyway, I hope you understand that this is my own personal testimony, and it's not coloured by what I've learned since. I felt it was weird on my first visit. I thought there was something up with the building, but it took me an awfully long time to figure out exactly what it was. The fact that on 9/11 it was that building that got demolished just made me think, what the fuck? I mean, it really just made me think, well, I was right. There was something really up with that building, because I could tell that it was some kind of trickery. I just didn't come to the realisation that they could be so great. You see, you have to, in order to realise that there are no flaws, you had to entertain that as a possibility, because it didn't really make sense if you think of it. Why would someone, you just rule it out, because why would someone build a structure like that without flaws? You have to be open to the possibility that there's a motive to do that, which later I worked out to be the atmospheric electricity tower. But at the time that I came up with the idea, and then that it might have no flaws, and then went and looked and discovered, wow, it really had no flaws, that was right. At that time, I was not aware that it might have been an electrical mast. I just simply was going through like a mental experiment of going, well, let's just discard all assumptions and look, there's no floor debris. What's the simplest possible explanation for no floor debris and no corpses and no bits of office equipment and no anything like that? The only human item that seems to have fallen out was a Saudi passport, which they immediately found. What's the simplest possible explanation for no floors and no equipment, no fridges, no computers, no anything? Well, the simplest explanation is there were no floors. So that's why I looked for no floors, even though I knew it made no sense to me at the time that they could build a structure with no floors. But I still decided I need to entertain that as a possibility, because it is the simplest explanation. And it turned out to be right. So they didn't want, they really worked very hard to stop anyone thinking the way that I thought about it. But anyway, they're busted. And that's my testimony. So I hope that's been of some help.
Okay, so is everything that he was saying true? How would we know? There's the fact that they had a very bizarre panel with only 107, 106, 44 on lobby. Does that mean that there weren't any floors in between? Well, no, not really. I mean, you could just have a lift that stopped at those floors. In which case, this idea of having to change, it's like, well, didn't that one go to the lobby and to those others? Huh. But you could just have a panel with all kinds of fake numbers, and the person that presses the buttons saying, well, we're going to go to floor 107, with all the other buttons being dud, if you wanted to disguise it. The main reason I showed that is that the guy was on in the World Trade Center, he gave his thoughts, and not long after, he was dead. Now we have somebody in the chat who's about to get banned. As You Wish has claimed to have been on every floor, and they were all full and fully working and everything. I've asked why As You Wish would be on every floor, and instead of answering, it's chosen to write this. So I'm going to read it. ABC, NBC, CBS, all the local channels, every airline, every financial firm, Disney, every bank, government offices galore, a massive mall with every mall business was there. Okay, and then writes, I have first-hand experience. This is indoctrination being spun. As you wish, if you'd like to remain in this channel, write why you went to every floor. Just tell us what your job was that you went to every floor. And we'll wait. What he said about a building being built when it wasn't even needed, that's a technique. China used that technique. It's a technique that some governments use to keep people employed. So I'm being devil's advocate here. NASA, that's okay. What governments do at times is they build things they don't really need. Here in Britain, we built this thing called the Millennium Dome. Okay, employed lots of people, paying very, very well, and useless, completely useless. It's a ploy. It's something that's used by governments. Just build things, keep people employed. NASA, there's another ploy that governments use. Now, if you care to go and look at, I think it's the London School of Economics, a discussion. As you wish, just wait a second. A discussion by, I forget who the speaker is, some notable, maybe ex-World Bank or IMF, explaining how it's imperative to keep the poorer nations poorer for the benefit of the wealthier nations. That's what the talk is about. But in that talk, he explains how governments, financial institutions, financial bodies within governments will use financial loopholes as and financial valves as a way of keeping the economy stable. Okay, if you have too much being made by the country, then you're going to face hyperinflation. So what you need to do is spend a big chunk in the military, a big chunk with, say, NASA. You need to spend that money so that you don't end up with hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is basically the worst thing that can happen to a country. So in order to stop hyperinflation, you have to have economic valves, basically pitfalls for money. So you have black budget, fine, but that's not, strictly speaking, the money that's making the rounds. That's money that's black money that's not really ever going to make its way into bank accounts and into the mainstream and cause the hiking of prices. That would be the black budget. We're talking white budget. So we're talking the military. We're talking, there's a film called The War Machine. Go and watch it. It's fantastic. It's explaining how much the Pentagon spent, the army spent, building something that was useless. How they just kept hiking the price and hiking the detail, just kept escalating for basically as an economic valve. It's necessary to keep hyperinflation. Now I'm going to read the comment that As You Wish wrote. When asked, why did you go to every floor? Okay. So this is typical, Antonio. You will find nowhere that I said I was on every floor. Okay. If you were not on every floor, then how would you know that every floor was there? As You Wish. By the way, As You Wish has also said that everybody in New York knew that all the floors were there. Well, no, you didn't know, so why would everybody else know? So there you go. I just like catching these people. There are directories online showing every business and corporation that occupied the World Trade Towers. Sure, there are also directories online that tell us all of the astronauts who went to the moon. As You Wish. Good Lord, it would be impossible to fabricate a directory. So here's some propaganda. As You Wish. Aside from a 14 to 20 floors, what does that mean? From a 14 to 20 floors? Do you mean there was 14? Or maybe 20 floors? Or do you mean between 14 and 20, which would be 6? That's a bit indistinct. Which were access and maintenance floors? They would have been lower down. Every floor was occupied from top to bottom. But you weren't on those floors. How would you know? Richard, unmarked floors, elevators are common in high-rise to keep tourists out. You mean somewhere like the World Trade Center, who encouraged tourists to go to their lobby to do the shopping and go to the restaurant, would want to keep tourists out? That's a bit of a stupid thing to write, As You Wish. So, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to explain why you think that every floor Every flaw was there. This is your last try. Make it convincing or I'm banning you for time wasting. So as you wish. Why do you think all the flaws were there? There's always people like this. No, but if there wasn't a terrorist attack, then why would the news have reported that there was a terrorist attack in London? Why would the news have done that? Interesting. Hey, how did the Vietnam War start? Oh no, you didn't go there, did you? Yeah. And here's a one for the UFO aficionados. What did the Americans mean by enemy helicopter activity? We have high-rise throughout Los Angeles with elevators with limited buttons. That's your answer. As you wish you had long enough to hear and then reply. So, the question was, what's your reason for thinking that all the floors were there? Your answer was, we have high-rises throughout Los Angeles with elevators with limited buttons. So, bye-bye. Silly boob. Danny Diesel, Morrison. That's right. Vietnam. So, who was in charge? Who was the rear admiral when the whole thing went down with the USS Liberty and kicked off the Vietnam War? I think it was the USS Liberty. Was it the father of Jim Morrison? It was. Jim Morrison, who's alive and well and living in Oregon, in a ranch called the Jim Morrison Sanctuary, under a different name, obviously, but it is called. Sorry, the Jim Morrison Sanctuary, or the Morrison Sanctuary. I think it's Jim Morrison Sanctuary, but never mind. Augusta Rice. Remember Theresa May's election? Lots of terrorist attacks then. Now there's going to be an election again. Terrorist attacks again. Why did terrorists attack at election time? Because people are going to vote for the one that appears to be the toughest. It's very simple. I got a leaflet today asking me to vote for Labour. And it has two pictures. A guy looking kind of sincere and humble in a shirt and tie and jacket. Just, you know. And a picture of the other two that might make a coalition, Conservative and this guy called Farage, mockingly laughing. Yeah, like wow. But just for that, I'm tempted to vote for the guys who are mockingly laughing. Yes, that's right, because you used that image in your pamphlet to try to sway my opinion, you moron. Anyway, Richard Archer, how you doing? Bread and circus. Chuck the Canuck. That's what it is. Just bread and circus. And we live in this world. There's, you know, when people have spoken about dualism, you know, like black and white and good and bad, and these. Now we're living in this dualism, this dualistic reality, where there's the reality, the fact that the Earth is flat, and then there's the globe beings who think that it's a fact that the world is a globe. They don't bother stopping to look. Like, wait a second. Trigonometry tells us it's flat. The observations tell us it's flat. The experts in the field of building long things over the surface of the Earth say it's flat. Loads of the pilots say it's flat. But we have a few pilots who have YouTube channels who say that it's spherical. Oh, must be spherical then. Anyway, there you go. Gary Clegg, I asked to be taken off the voting system, still waiting for a reply. You won't get a reply. Like, we've taken you off the voting system. No, they're not going to do that. Sparky Lee, I will never vote again. Danny Diesel, I'll bet every war was started that way. You know, if you look at some of the wars in history, if you believe history, you know, some flat earthers don't believe history even happened. None of it is even real. Like, wait. The distortions, the omissions, history has been excised. We know this. Look, the history of the world starts at a point. Like, we know that's false. It doesn't start at a point. Okay? But if you look at some of the reasons for the war, it's like, what? That's a bit stupid. Why bother doing that? Like, really, why bother? Yeah, sparkly, all wars are a sham. All countries are owned by the one world government. The one world government has been in place for ages. If only this one world government was a good frickin' entity that didn't rely on appeasing the dimwits with things like terrorist attacks and oh look at your planet Earth. Oh, we've found life on Mars maybe, and all of that silliness. Yeah. Kuster, History is Bunk, Brave New World. That's an awesome book, Brave New World. Like much closer to what we live in now than, wait, difficult to say. In some ways, much closer to the world we live in now than 1984. But then when you think about 1984, you go, oh, actually, is it really? Sometimes 1984 is more like the world we live in now. Depends which branch of sociology you want to look at. Spakeface. In Australia, we are encouraged to vote by a threat of a fine. What? I did not know that, Spakeface. You're fined if you don't vote? Wow. Mark Collard writes, watch Europa, The Last Battle on BitChute. I'm going to make a note of that, and I will do. Europa, The Last Battle. So, obviously, to distract the world, what the powers that be are doing is saying, look, religion, Muslims evil. And then obviously they're going to the Muslims, look, religion, Christians evil. But in any case, Jews definitely evil to both of you. Like, why are the religions doing this? And then you look, and it's like the religions are saying, but we just want peace. Well, who the hell is making you war? Who? Really? You have no control? Maybe stop lying to the people, religious people. Often read, some man points out that there will always be war, not just because it's lucrative for some, but because a lot of men like war, fighting for a cause, feeling heroic, life, death, feeling meaningful. Often read. That is a scary idea, especially when you look at the size of the Chinese army on all of those single men with no families to worry about being in that army. Is looking for the West. The Chinese tend to be kind of xenophobic and don't really get involved in wars outside of China. And some people say, what about Tibet? Say, nah, never mind that. Wars outside of China. Tibet was part of China. So yeah. But all of that thinking, it brings on, yeah, it is, Sasha. It brings on ideas of hate, and then you have this counterbalance that, yeah, but if only people were nice to each other, it's like, yeah, that would be lovely. Should we have a look at how people who say, let's all be nice to each other, should we have a look at how they behave? It's like, my God, never seen a worse nest of vipers than those guys. Let's all be nice, apart from the demonic ones. Like, whoa, Did you just completely dehumanize humans because they don't think what you think? Wow. Just wow. INFE, organized religion, has enslaved, tortured and murdered more people than all the despots of the ages. Yes. Flashman Moon, the hologram, the Earth here on YouTube. Yes. Anna Goodmanson. Yes, that's good. I like it. I have some ideas about the moon that I'm working on. It's so difficult to... it's a difficult one, the moon. Harder than the sun. Rod James writes, Chinese banks are in the whoopsie now. Damn it, where did that go? Hate it when I'm reading something and the chat just jumps up. Are in the whoopsie now, bailed out by the government. Well, the same as Britain a few years ago and America too. Just the game. It's just the game. If we sit here thinking, but that game is evil, it's like, woof, don't be too fast passing judgment about evil and what's evil and what isn't. Like, look at how the place runs. Like, are there all kinds of crap there? Yes. But really look at it, how it runs. Like, really look at how it runs. Go somewhere a bit more primitive and look how that runs. And look at how weaker the government's control is in those countries, and see how they're run. Like, oh, do you really want something similar to that? Anyway, it's not going to happen, because the reason we have government how we do in the West is because the Western mentality has this idea like, oh, well, let's all contribute and let's all participate and let's all improve. That's the mentality in the West. And then there are people saying, no, we should all do different things. Oh, okay, we'll go ahead and do them. Oh, yeah, damn, I forgot about that. I forgot that I could do that here in the West. I could go and do different things. Ah, maybe it's not so evil, huh? Right. I have a thing. There you go. That's it, folks. I'm gonna let you all go. Go and watch some. What the heck is? There's a thing in my corner. The corner there. Never mind. I'm gonna go and watch. What's this? Europe. That last battle. And we'll see. We'll see how true it is, or how fearmongery it is. Because let's face it, all of this is distraction from the same thing. What's that? Well, it's distraction from the fact that the Earth is flat, and from the fact that the conditions, climatic conditions in the world, are a lot more dependent on criteria that have been absolutely not just ignored, but literally taken backwards by the geophysicists. Like, literally flipped. Oh, look, the sun has that magnetic flare which becomes this on Earth. Like, no, dumbass. This happens on Earth which becomes that magnetic flare on the sun, and then you say, well, it happened sometime before we saw it. Like, what are you doing? You saw it as it was happening, and then you say, but it happened sometime before then. Like, no. When we felt the impact, which is when you saw it, is when the reciprocal relationship was happening. It's the Earth that causes the effects on the sun. It's the Earth that makes the sun bifurcate into two for a while and then disappear. And it's, well, we'll all see. Sasha, I think it would be great if you did a hangout, because I don't have the details, but if you did a hangout just going over the military training to fight in underground mega cities, that would be interesting. It might prompt people to go, huh, I wonder why they would be training to fight in underground mega cities. What are they training to fight in underground mega cities for? And you might actually ask that out loud for the people who are going, oh, that's interesting, and then picturing domed cities and little pretend battles. Instead of going, what for? Anyway, that's it, folks. I'm going to quit. I'm going to eat something, and I'm going to just chill. I might go to see what Ice to See is doing. Okay, folks, thank you very much. Orphan Red writes, will you join me on it maybe? If I can. If my system will let me join you, yes, I will. So there you go. Yeah, I'd love to. Right, folks, I will see you again soon. Now, where's my thing? And now I will say shalom, which is how you also say goodbye. And in Catalan, adeu.